meeting, the Winter Artist Town Meeting. I'm Robert McBride, Director of the Rockingham Arts and Museum Project, which has been coordinating these meetings for a number of years. And Fact TV has been hosting them for us recently with the virtual nature and their ability. They're an incredible resource, and we thank them for their time. So on tonight's meeting, kind of the general agenda we sent out is we have Amy Cunningham here with us, who's the deputy director. I guess if everyone could mute their things if they're not speaking, that would be good, just in case there's any background noise. Amy Cunningham's here as the deputy director of the Vermont Arts Council, and she's always good on these meetings. She'll give us kind of a bigger statewide overview of some of the issues that are going on with advocacy and the Vermont Creative Network, as well as some of this ARPA funding, which we're talking about, which is a really big deal coming into everyone's community in Vermont. And then Zon Eastis is either on or will be joining us, who works on the Vermont Creative Network, an initiative of the Vermont Arts Council. And the state is divided into 6 zones, and he hosts the Wyndham-Bennington zone in our area around the Vermont Creative Network. And probably a lot of you are receiving the newsletters that come out around that. And he'll be joining us. And then Martha Fitch is with us, who's the director from the Vermont Crafts Council. And she'll give us some statewide updates. And then we're going to be having a discussion with Jeanette Staley and other local artists about the upcoming Vermont State Craft Open Studio Weekend upcoming in May, Memorial Day weekend, and how we can get more local artists involved in that if they would like to be. So I think I'll just kick it off with introducing Amy Cunningham. And Amy, just however you want to approach some subject matter and talk to us about what you're noticing and how you've been, talking to other groups around the state.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Robert. I'm happy to be joining you tonight from Elm Street in Montpelier, just down the street from Martha, my neighbor. Yeah, happy to be here tonight. I wanted to share 3 key updates. I wanted to let you know about some grant opportunities that are currently open for artists. I wanted to give you updates on current legislation that we have in the State House for investment in the creative sector. And then, as Robert shared, and this may be overlapping with what Zon wants to cover, but I'll just touch on what we know about these municipal American Rescue Plan funds and the potential for the creative sector to benefit from those town funds. So I'll start off with our grant programs. So as you know, we're the State Arts Council, been around for 50 years. We distribute state and federal funds to artists and arts organizations in a number of different ways. And we currently have 2 grant programs open specifically for individual artists. And I think maybe the easiest thing to do, I'm going to use the chat and I'm going to plop in the links for these 2 individual grant programs. The first grant program is called Artist Development. These are grants maximum of $2,000 that are for specific projects or initiatives that you need to advance your career or advance your creative practice. These grants have been around for a long time, but we've been able to double the size of the grants, and we're able to fund about 4 times as many of these grants as we were in prior years. So encourage you to take a look at the guidelines. My colleague Dominique Gustin is our artist services manager, and she is very available and responsive and happy to answer any questions about that grant program. In addition, our creation grant program, which is $4,000 for the creation of new work. This is our most competitive grant program at the council. It is just opened and the deadline is April 4th. And again, I put the link in the chat, and on each of these pages, you can see the full grant guidelines. You can take a look and preview the application. You can see contact information for my colleague Dominique Gustin, who runs these programs. She's very happy to email, phone call, video chat, whatever you want. And then there's a grant seeker workshop, so a Zoom call coming up next week about these creation grants with Dominique if you're interested. So those are the artist grants. Any questions about those? All right, I'll roll right into the State House. Legislature just started As a part of our work in organizing around the Vermont Creative Network, Robert has been around from the very beginning in pushing this idea of the bigger ecosystem of the creative economy and the creative sector and all of the ways that it's important to our state and all of the ways that it merits investment. We completed, as you may know, I see some familiar faces from some of the idea jams and gatherings we've had over the last year to gather ideas and get input on kind of the big strategic vision for what Vermont needs to do to invest in the creative sector. And we are really doubling down. So for the first time ever, we're putting forth a big request at the State House. So it's, we're calling it the Vermont Creative Futures Bill. It's been introduced in the Senate, it's S202, and in the House, it's H624. And again, I'm gonna plop, sorry, I'm not doing slides. I figured it was just easier to give you all some links in the chat if that works okay. I'm gonna put a link in the chat here for the page on our website that talks about the Vermont Creative Futures Bill. At the bottom of this page, you can see there's a link to the Vermont Legislature website where you can track the bill if you're interested. You can see the one sheet summary and slides. In a nutshell, this is a $17.5 million request in the investment in the creative sector. It's a response to, one, the disproportionate harm that has been felt by the creative sector. In addition, there's other sectors like the restaurant sector, of course, who've had disproportionate impact due to COVID. But secondly, this is really a response to what we know, which is that the creative sector is one of the kind of special sauce of what makes Vermont special. And as we look towards workforce development issues and healthy, prosperous Vermont economies, we know that investment in creative sector is a really good long-term investment. So Nick, good question on the legislation. We've got great tripartisan support, and I will put the links in the Senate. It's Allison Clarkson is the primary sponsor, co-sponsors Keisha Ram Hinsdale, she just got married, Ann Cummings in Montpelier, and Joe Benning. The House sponsor list, I'm happy to say, is too long for me to rattle off, but I'm going to plop the actual bills in there. That in the House, it's sponsored by Stephanie Jerome, and then there's probably 20 or 25 co-sponsors. So 6 key components to this bill. Again, this is all listed on the website, but the biggest component by far is creative economy grants for organizations and businesses that have had losses due to COVID or who continue to operate in some limited capacity. We have additional grant funding proposed to help nonprofit cultural organizations with facility adaptations. We have an additional grant program proposed for transitional costs for creative businesses, which means artists, right? Artists, galleries, for-profit, and nonprofits for the transitional costs required to implement safe public programming. So touchless ticketing, online sales platforms, COVID-related health and safety protocols, those sorts of things. We have 3 other initiatives within that we're proposing as a part of this bill. One is creative spaces grants. So this would be $750,000 to pilot something similar. On the other side of the state, there's a great project called Bundle in Middlebury. And there's been different forms of this that you've probably seen, pop-ups in empty commercial spaces to host creative businesses or creative events. So we see it as kind of an incubator to help those small creative businesses and also a way to fill those empty storefronts and make downtowns vibrant. And then finally, some more statewide and regional marketing money for arts and cultural events. Sorry, I just rattled a bunch of stuff off at you, but there's 6 key components to this bill. The Creative Futures Act page is the best place to kind of keep the latest on what's going on there. They will be, both of these bills will be taken up in the economic development / commerce. So in Senate, it's called Economic Development. House, it's called the Commerce Committee. Those are the committees that are taking these bills up. And so far we've gotten a great response. There's a lot of conversation about the very best ways to invest in these ARPA funds and how to make sure all of these economic relief grants are distributed equitably. So we're getting a lot of hard questions about that, but no pushback on the premise of our ask there. So we're optimistic, and we'll be looking at some point to ask folks to reach out to their individual legislators, but the time, we've been told that the time is not quite now. They're just getting into the swing of things and getting their bearings. So we want to be strategic about when we ask people to really push and reach out to their legislators. So that there must be questions about that. Anyone? You feel free to unmute yourselves. Is the list of local polls on the website? That is a great question. The answer is no, but there is a link to the Vermont, to this bill. Thank you, Charles. That reminds me. I'm going to put a couple more links if they're useful, hopefully. So I'm putting the link, it's the legislature website. That's Senate 202. So that's the Senate side bill. And then I'm going to put the link in for H624, which was sponsored by Stephanie Jerome of Brandon. And then I'm going to put, well, I guess what I should say is at the top. Sorry, I'm looking for the page. I'm going to put in the link, the easy search function, Charles, where you can put in your town and find out who all your reps are, and it'll link you to their contact info. Does that answer your question? Great. Okay, Robert, are you going to like pull me off the screen with like a virtual cane? Am I done?
No. So you covered that, and the ARPA stuff is doing, and I assume Zahn is still going to be joining us because he can tell us more on a local level. And also, I think it was in the Shopper last week, Shopper, where and Betsy, I think you might have reported on this. There's going to be 2 workshops that the town has kind of one in February and one in March, up to get some more community input about how the money might be spent in our community. So it seems like Rockingham is really organizing itself, the select board and stuff, for some outreach, which is good. With some of my initial concern, not just about our town, but when you have this amount of money, and the select board really can just decide how to spend it. You know, basically every select board or governing organization doesn't have to go through something, but it seems like a nice process is being developed for input into it. So I think how we configure, and as Amy, you see things evolve on the arts across the state and how different communities are dealing with it. You know, what kind of asks, you know, we might come together as artists to put in about cultural things and stuff. And Martha, when you give a little talk, you might, you know, how is the Vermont Crafts Council, where is it on their radar screen, and what are they starting to think about things, or how maybe to influence stuff. So does anyone have any other questions for Amy? And then I think we'll just ask Martha if she wants to give us some background about statewide kind of perspective on the Vermont State, the Crafts Council, and struggles and opportunities and challenges.
Yeah, just for context, Amy, Nick here, this is pretty big deal, right? I mean, there hasn't been a bill introduced like this in Vermont in, I don't know, recent memory. So of course, the feds are giving in a way that maybe to the states that we haven't seen either due to COVID, but it does seem like a really good opportunity. And it's great that there's buy-in from both sides of the aisle, because it doesn't seem like that's happening a lot in America right now. So
yeah, it's enormously exciting. And like you said, Nick, this is, you know, on one hand, it's the result of the hard work that's been put in to do the research and do the community organizing around the idea of the creative economy, but it's also a historic moment. I mean, this is the New Deal of my lifetime right now. I mean, frankly, I wish it were on the scale of the original New Deal, but it's still, this is a really unique opportunity for transformative investment. That was Phil Scott's buzzword in his budget address this week,
Yeah.
transformative investments. And I really think that's what this is.
Yeah, that's great news. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Rob,
It's
absolutely.
it's really offered the opportunity for the creatives and the artists and everyone to be at the table in a serious, meaningful way because of what we actually contribute to the vitality in a community. And in these uncertain COVID times, yes, people have, theaters and everything have suffered enormously because of that. But that, I think we are really the ones that are going to kind of navigate us and bring us through a lot of the troubles, and stuff.
If I may, Robert, my invitation to any of you is if you've got a particular story about your artistic practice or, your creative business, and you'd be interested in sharing that with us about how this bill would help your business, how your business, I say business, and knowing that you're all small business people as artists, how you might benefit from this legislation, the role that you play in your town's, rural economy. If you're game to write a letter or testify, reach out to me. We are trying to collect as many individual stories about the needs and the situations that are out there to really, we've got a ton of data that we can throw at legislators, but to have, a glass blower in Bellows Falls tell the legislature, here's the impact of my work and here's where I am right now and here's why investment is needed. That's so much more effective than statistics that I rattle off. So be in touch with me. I won't throw you in or, put you onto a committee and do anything you're not comfortable with, but we could just kind of talk through if you're interested in being a spokesperson around this and sharing your story.
And Amy, I was wondering if the Arts Council might have some kind of like one pager about sort of prompting those questions that someone could respond to. You know what I mean? It's like, you say like, tell your story, but maybe put some provocative ways that we might not even be thinking our story is important or something,
Yeah, we don't have that right now. That's a good point. We're definitely still, like I was saying, we're not doing the big push for outreach right now. So I'm definitely doing that more on a one-on-one basis right now. But but that's a good idea, Robert. We should work on that. And I'm going to put my email address in the chat.
Great.
And if Zahn isn't able to join us, Robert, I'm happy to talk about the municipal ARPA stuff, whatever you want.
Okay. Let's give them, because there was some confusion. I know Martha had that maybe in one email I said 6:30 and stuff. So maybe Martha, do you want to speak about the Vermont Crafts Council?
Yeah, first of all, I'm sitting not very far away from my my washing machine, which is going. So, and I'm afraid to turn it off. So, so anyway, if it gets really noisy, I don't know what I'll do. I guess I'll mute myself. Who knows? But so the first deadline for signing up for Spring Open Studio was yesterday. And what I'm telling people though is that we will accept applications as we put the map booklet together. And when that thing goes to press, then the kind of exposure that we offer to artists is going to be a little less. I mean, we'll still put you on the website. We'll still, do as much as we can for you, but the map booklet is something that people look forward to, and we usually run out of them. So anyway, so don't feel like you're missing out. It's going to take me a few weeks to get it together. So if people are interested, they can still register. And one thing we did during COVID, when we didn't have any money and had no clue about whether we were going to be here tomorrow, as it were, was that we launched a new website, which, that sounds not very hard. We launched a new website. I think that's like 5 words, but man, there's a lot more involved with doing that. When on our website, we have 250 pages, and each artist who's a member has a page. So everything has to be, there's plenty of opportunities for things to go wrong, as I discovered. Anyway, that's also something, if you haven't been to our website recently, I invite you to come, and I'm going to put in the chat. Now, Amy is making me feel like a slacker here because we're only going to be putting one link in there. And that is the link to the application for signing up for Open Studio. And it turns out those forms now do work, thank goodness. Oh God, here we go. Sorry. Anyway, but the response has been great so far. I think we have something like, 82 or 3 sites signed up. My experience with this is that usually, there's a significant amount of people that will sign up after the deadline. Why is that? But it does happen every single year. So I think we're aiming for a robust turnout in spite of COVID. And we were successful at applying for, I'm sure, COVID money from the Department of Tourism and Marketing. We have a grant for $25,000 for promotion for Open Studio, which is like, we've never had that much money for it. So that is going to be awesome. And it's the kind of money that we should have been investing had we had it, every single year to grow Open Studio. And we have not had it. So this year we've got it. So we're definitely we've hired somebody who is a marketing specialist, and that person is going to handle that part of it. So I don't have to do everything, which is also an awesome thing. So otherwise, people have been concerned about what the risk is. And so far in advance, Omicron came along and kind of just, affected us all yet again in terms of what can we expect, what is going to be safe. And we've just been telling people that in a lot of ways, having a studio where you can control who comes in and how many people come in to see you is a lot safer than some of the other situations that you could find yourself in. And we're recommending that people look for check vaccination cards and social distance, and offer masking, and offer an exhibit that's outside of the studio if they can do that. And so, that's where we're at with it, and we'll be in touch with all of our artists as the warmer season comes along, we hope. So otherwise, let's see. Does anybody have any questions at the moment for me? I know that Bellows Falls has got a contingent that's working to have a headquarters at the 33 Bridge, is it Bridge Street, 33? Yep. And that's kind of still developing, which is great. We're encouraging people to do that kind of thing, to create a group of studios and to co-promote, and also to bring in their tourism network or the hospitality network that's in the area. We have some ideas about what to do with that, but they're still developing. If anybody that has any kind of creative ideas, I would encourage you to get in touch. I'm not too far from my email these days. And I'm even willing to have a phone conversation. Wow. So
Great.
Otherwise, coming up for us, we've got a couple of things that we're working on. One is, thanks to the Vermont Arts Council, we have a small grant for technology training for artists. And the way that we've imagined that is that we'll have people complete a survey that includes what their technology equipment is and what their skill level is and what they think they need. And then after that, we envision a general presentation or two, and then we'll divide people up into small groups. And each one of them will have a mentor. And then we'll also, depending on what people need, we will do a one-on-one coaching situation on very specific topics. So if you're interested in that, I will later on put something in I'll put something in the chat about that as well. So I think that's pretty much it for me.
Okay, yep. And then we're going to follow up after, I guess maybe we'll let Amy sort of talk about what's on to cover some of the ARPA stuff and the Vermont Creative Network stuff. And then the last part of our meeting is going to be about the discussion of evolving the 33 Bridge Street and other artists participating. And I know Chris and Scott and Nick and Charles have all been involved in constant conversation, and Claire with Jeanette. So I think Jeanette's going to join us. I know she had some kind of memorial she needed to participate in, but
she's actually in the waiting room. I don't know if Alex is here. I messaged
Alex.
him. She's sitting in the waiting room trying to join right now.
Oh.
So Alex, if you're there and could let her in, that would be awesome.
Oh, how can you see that? How can you see that?
I texted her and said, where are you? And she said, I'm in the waiting room waiting to get in. So
okay. So Amy, maybe if you want to talk a little bit about, and if Zon joins us, he can chat it up too. But and then
Zon might be in the waiting room too.
Oh,
but I can frame it up.
Well, let me, I guess I should call Alex if he's not. Alex.
Come on, Robert, text him.
Yeah, maybe. I don't have a text for him. I have an email.
Oh, it's Alex. I think it's at Alex at
right, that's his email.
Alex at Fact TV.
Yeah, I don't know
text
if
him.
he's got
Yeah, I don't have a cell phone, but I'm going to call his office. So, Amy, I'm going to let you talk about something while I put myself on mute.
All right. So I'll just frame up this municipal ARPA thing. So, American Rescue Plan has a number of different pieces to it. A big chunk of money went to every state, and the state legislatures are figuring out how to spend that. But a big chunk of money is also going to, in most cases, every single county in this nation. And this is discretionary money to respond and recover from COVID. In Vermont, we don't really have counties, so we got special dispensation for that money to go directly to towns. So you may know this already, every single municipality is just getting an allocation of funds based on their population size. And there is a really broad kind of range of possibilities of how they might use that money. And so we wanted to be ahead of the game and prepare materials and empower any local advocates who are thinking about making the case for how creative sector investments could be made with that municipal ARPA money. The huge caveat here is that your town may not choose to do that. But if you want to start to make that case, we want to, kind of give you all of the materials and information you need to make that case. We've been in conversations with the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. They're the statewide group that's really helping the municipalities deal with this. This is historic and new and different. There's never been money like this handed out directly to towns. And so a lot of, town governments and select boards and town clerks are really trying to figure out how to manage this. So we've been connecting with the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. I'm going to put another link, it's a simple 2-pager of kind of why municipal ARPA for creative sector and some of the ideas for how it could possibly be used in a town. But I want to give you 3 key takeaways from our friends at the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. What they're really imploring towns to do is wait. They have until 2024 to obligate these funds. There's a lot of other things at play, the infrastructure bill, different decisions from the Treasury on how the money can be spent. They're really encouraging municipalities to take their time. Secondly, they're encouraging municipalities, and I say this to you if you're someone who wants to get involved in this effort in your town, these are kind of some of the key messages you might kind of pass on. They're encouraging towns to consider forming an ARPA committee to explore the uses of the funds. And more broadly than that, whether it's an ARPA committee, they're really imploring the towns to choose to do some community engagement around how these funds can be used. Because again, they have the time. This isn't, you may remember the earlier relief funds that came from the federal government, the CARES Act in 2020, that has to be spent by the end of the year. You know, that was really like Band-Aids for, you know, an economy that was circling the drain. This is a longer term investment. So I will put, let's see, I'll put the link to the 2-pager. Again, if you're, oops, that's the wrong link. I just put the Crafts Council link in there. You can have that though too. Let's see, copy. Here is the 2-pager about creative sector funds. Again, your town may, I don't know if you're all actually residents of Bellows Falls, but your town may already have plans. I mean, it's totally within a select board's right to say like, we're building this culvert, boom, done. But a lot more towns are deciding that this is an opportunity to, you know, look at the strategies in your town plan, look at bigger, longer term investments. But they're still trying to figure out how it's all going to shake out in terms of compliance and regulations with the federal government. But it's there, and we just wanted to make sure folks who are inclined at the local levels to advocate had information they needed to make the case. I see Betsy's hand is raised.
Yes, hi there. I just wanted to mention, so yes, a committee has been formed for Rockingham. Gary Fox, development, the manager, Scott. Gary has asked myself to be on it, so I can kind of be your spokesperson. And I'm not sure who else actually. Definitely a town select board and a village trustee. And there are 2 public meetings, one March 16th and one April 13th.
Yep.
And I will just mention something that I've gathered from reporting on the select board and trustee meetings, that I think if we can all come up with ideas that actually the village can get behind and know that possibly they might be spending money on in the future, if we can somehow, you know, those are the ideas I think that are really gonna get pushed forward, is where there's enough of the trustees and the select board that also believe in it. If that helps any at all.
I think y'all are ahead of a lot of towns. That's awesome.
So Betsy, do you imagine that those ideas would come out of those scheduled meetings?
Yes, or, you know, you guys could brainstorm separately and then bring, you know, a couple of your ideas to that meeting as well.
Right.
I think, yeah, what Gary wants is all the organizations to kind of think about. What I've talked to BIFTA about is things that, like, we want to help with new lampposts, you know, do the upgrade on the lighting. That was kind of a project we had looked at, but then I was thinking, okay, that's something the town would be spending money on eventually. They're replacing those lampposts. So to me, that would be a really good idea to put out there, because it would benefit what we're wanting to do with BIFTA, and we would get to help. Plus the town is seeing, okay, eventually we're going to have to put how many thousands of dollars in. So, I mean, those are the kind of ideas that we're coming up with.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's also kind of interesting to think that, you know, because these decisions are ultimately, I guess, approved by the select board's trustees, and then the complexion of those boards could change between now and 2024. So where does the commitment happen, and then where does the final approval happen, you know? I mean, I don't imagine a new select board or trustee or changes would totally change around, but it's kind of an interesting evolution, you know, that could happen with things.
Yes, and I'll just add the, you know, the townwide plan, the area-wide plan, the island expansion, all of that is, you know, eventually there will be money put in, villages investing, towns investing. So those are the kind of things I think we all need to think about. How do we fit in those plans? And to make that case so that the town and village can realize, okay, instead of spending it 5 years from now, let's put that money and invest it in this project with the ARPA funds.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, great. Okay. So I'm sorry if they're still out in the waiting room. You know, I don't know what to do. I don't know where our coordinator has gone, but I think the next thing we just did want to discuss was among the artists and the Open Studio weekend coming up, and in May, and in the group that's sort of been meeting a little bit about that. I didn't know if you and you know, Chris and Scott and Claire wanted to kind of chime in and talk a little bit about where we've come from and how the Bridge Street project, putting together a space there that people could participate at that space if they didn't want to have a studio opened off location, to create a little cohesion and a destination in Bellows Falls for people to see several artisans at once, could be. So does someone want to step forward on that a little bit?
I don't mind speaking. I know Chris, you know, you've been the cornerstone here, but he actually won't be participating this spring. So a lot of change for him. So I'll not that I want to officially take the mantle, but I will speak to it. So as many of you know, we do have a really great space at 33 Bridge Street, and there's a common area. Not only are there 2 or 3 people here already in their own private studios doing the event, but we thought, what if we were to expand that common area to include some of the local artists in our community that maybe are out in the further reaches of the back roads that might want to be in town. So we've thought about creating more of a destination event that might include, you know, food truck service with. And I know Chris probably can speak to individually to what sort of success we've had with that, but it sounds like we've lined up some food and culinary arts, if you will, and also some music. And we have some new participation. Shannon, who's also on the call tonight, a friend from Chester, has offered to participate and come scope it out down here as a jeweler. I know, Scott, you spoke with some others. Mike, I met today, who's a woodworker / stonemaker, stone sculpture. You know, it sounds like we're trying to spread ourselves around in media and just create more of a destination. I know Jeanette's been working on writing a grant to get some promotional marketing funding to really kind of pump up the social media marketing, more of a strategy, more a cohesive plan. So we're working on it. Of course, Martha, you know, pointed out that this is a moving target with COVID, and you know, we're working to make whatever accommodations we can. We did, you know, host a live event last fall, which was nice. To be in person, and it felt safe. People were masked. I mean, we have a policy in the building where people certainly are required to be masked. And it's open enough so that, you know, hopefully we can find a balance between crowds. We'd love a crowd, but not one that makes us uncomfortable. But I think we can accommodate, you know, people in the spaces. So, you know, really the idea is to create more of a destination and take up a little more space on the map with more stars, and really, you know, try and coordinate with others I know Charles has been working with Main Street Arts, and there's some other things outside of just 33 Bridge Street that I know is also hoping to get some traction. Canal Street Gallery, some others that'll be participating in some of the arts events for the month of May. Has sort of been our month, right, Robert? To try and really just create some awareness in our community about all the people that are working to make nice things. So yeah, it'll be a little bit different. Chris is making a change. He's been, like I said, sort of the anchor here at 33. He's been blessed with a new opportunity to expand his expertise to a different sector, although he'll be using a lot of creativity. It's not quite making glass. So, you know, but we'll miss his presence, but he's done a lot to kind of lay the groundwork, and I know he's still here and participating on some degree. So yeah, we'll just see what 2022 brings. And I think we got a good group of people. So it's taking shape.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I'll just say that I've joined the group for a couple of years and showing down at 33 Bridge Street, and it worked out really great. There's more people that will come there than to my studio, and plus the camaraderie of the other artists is really nice to have. So I'm going to join them again. I plan to.
Great. Yeah. Glad to have you, Claire. Yeah. I mean, I feel like, you know how it is with this kind of thing. It takes a number of years, you know, before people really kind of gets traction. And I do feel like we've had some good events, and of course setbacks with, you know, COVID and whatnot, but there's a lot of quality here. I think we just have to keep pushing and it'll happen. So I'm encouraged by the energy here. So
Yeah, I mean, we've been pushing at it Martha, I think I joined Vermont Craft Council my first year. So it's probably 15 years, I think. And it's grown. It's been different iterations each year, but we've had some really good energy, I think, with Nick down and Scott and Claire and Jeanette, and looking forward to having your work there, Shannon. We do have some food lined up. So in the last couple of years, it's become more of a destination and event than just, you know, a glass blower or two in the back corner. So that's been really great. And it's just it's a great space, and it's nice to have live, you know, energy in that space as opposed to just a big empty echoing hall that you walk through. So it's been great to have the various other artisans there doing their work. So, and we didn't really go around the room and introduce ourselves or say what we're doing. I have been offered, I wasn't looking for it, but for the first time in 28 years, I'm stepping away from the glass furnace for several months. And it'll be during May, so I won't be able to participate. I have potentially somebody to line up, but I shouldn't put anything in writing yet. And I'll make sure he joins the craft council or something if that works out. But there might be somebody in the space making glass. I'm just not sure. But I look forward to being there as much as I can, and I'm here at least into March to help plan and participate. I'm trying to line up some food at least. Yeah, I'm definitely still part of the group and part of the craft council. I'm not going anywhere. So.
great. You want to jump in, Scott? Do you have any?
I can't hear you.
There I am. Okay. Thanks, Nick and Chris. Hi, Shannon. Glad you're here. Welcome. Nice to meet you. Hi, Catherine. Nice to meet you. Hi, everybody. So, yeah, we have, just to let you know what we still could be looking for people to join us in the spring. So we have myself. I'm a painter. Jeanette is a painter, and she does other stuff too, but we very different styles. And then Claire doing her stained glass work, and of course Nick doing glass, maybe someone else doing glass, and then Shannon doing jewelry. And then a fellow that we just met named Mike that we met over at the River Artisans Co-op that does beautiful woodwork, combination of wood and stone. So I think, so we're trying to keep it a good variety there. So I think what we could use next, if we still have room, it's a big space. We have room for maybe if anyone knows of someone that does basketry or textiles, whatever, let's think
Pottery.
about it.
Pottery would be good.
Yeah, we
We've
don't
been
have,
kind of
we don't have
tentatively
that.
looking, but we haven't found anybody willing to commit yet. Doing
Right.
ceramics, but that would be a nice.
So it looks like right now we have 5 of us in the big space, which is great. And then we'll have music on the stage and maybe food somewhere in the building or right outside the building. So it's looking good. I mean, it's a great opportunity. It's an easy sell because we're not charging for the space. As far as I know, the landlords are letting us use the space. So it's really very affordable it's great for all of us.
Probably be some fees for some marketing or advertising or stuff to participate, but yeah, that's great. And I'm looking forward to working with Betsy. Betsy and I are actually having a conversation Monday morning to catch up with each other. Betsy Thurston, who's on the call, is the head of the Bellows Falls Downtown Development Alliance, which is basically the Main Street program and stuff. And an opportunity to let the other businesses know and market this thing that'll bring attention to their businesses downtown and stuff. We've often worked with the Flatiron Cafe, which has recently reopened, and possibly be hanging work there, but also just that those businesses are aware that that's happening. Myself and another artist will have our studios open off the square, so it's a bigger downtown thing. But it's great that this kind of concentration is developing at Bridge Street with the lobby area filled with different artisans and stuff. So it's good. So Betsy, I look forward to brainstorming with you about some of spreading the word about it. Wherever Betsy went.
Me too. Me too. Thank you. I
She's
just
in
want to
Martha's
mention,
washing machine. Yes, where is she?
if it's
Yeah,
okay that I
sorry.
pipe in, but I shared with Scott. But I will actually make sure this goes on the community calendar for the rockbf.org site as well. So
Nice.
Great.
Yeah, and big reach out to Betsy. Since she's come aboard, she's been a positive boost and a little bundle of energy running around Bellows Falls, and we really appreciate it. It's great to have an advocate who is not only there for the market businesses in the downtown, but you've made an extra effort to come over to Bridge Street at every opportunity for us craftspeople, and we definitely appreciate what you're doing. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
welcome.
Betsy.
Thank you.
Robert?
Yes, Charles.
Yeah, I just want to mention Main Street Arts, and I want to introduce Catherine Despont, who's on the call. She's with Main Street Arts. The two of us are working together on programming and getting the place back up on its feet. We did sign up for Open Studio Weekend, and on the suggestion of Robert, to have the place open for people to come in to use the restrooms, to see what Main Street Arts is doing with its projects, and possibly have some coffee and donuts, and possibly some music in the stage area. We haven't really set it up exactly what we want to do there yet, but it's been suggested that we would have the maps as the information center. We would put something up on the wall about the local artists and where they're located on the map. We can do something like that. So I'd like to hear from the rest of you if you have any ideas about how Main Street Arts can help out with all this. Catherine, did you want to say anything more other than introduce yourself?
Thanks, Charles. Yes, I'm Catherine. I feel like I've met some of you over the last year, but I moved to Saxton's River about a year ago, and my background is in arts programming, and I'm also a writer, a musician, yeah, I think Charles had the foresight to get us registered and for the craft weekend, and I'm listening to you all talk. I'm hopeful that we might be able to sort of organize as a hub for some artists that might be in our area too. And then right now, sort sort of the strategy that we're working on is just mainly how to keep the theater space open as a resource in the area. And so we've been thinking about sort of performing arts incubation, and we're preparing to launch, well, it won't be an open call this time, but a request for proposals among people that we've been in discussion with, who would come and essentially sort of work as short-term residents of the theater space to develop, record an album or rehearse a dance piece or a theater piece, and sort of put the space, activate the space while it's in a moment when it's impossible to have public programming. And I think the next step for me is sort of looking at some sort of work trade agreements or space rental agreements, so that people who weren't directly selected as residents of the space could also rent rehearsal space. So that's what I'm working on right now. I'm just getting, a sense of the layout regionally about in terms of what grants are available. But, I'm really happy to hear you speak, Amy, and to hear about, just what an exciting time it is to hopefully think about development of these spaces. But yeah, and this is my background, and I'm excited to help develop strategies in any way that I can. And I'm also, Robert Dugrenier is a childhood family friend, was part of the reason I ended up in this area, and I'm currently working in his studio 3 days a week, assisting him.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where did you move here from, Catherine?
Well, I've been fairly nomadic the last 3 years. I'm from New York City originally. That's where most of my work happened. I worked for a couple of years in Devon, England, at a place called Dartington Hall, which is a very interesting arts colony with a focus on rural development through arts and agriculture. So I've done a lot of research in that area. And then I was living at a friend's farm in upstate New York when the pandemic hit. Found my way here.
Glad to have you in Vermont.
I'm happy to be here, really.
Hey, Charles, maybe we could each have a piece of our work down at the hub for the open studio. You could have a display, a wall or a table with some of our, just one of each of our stuff, if you're willing.
Yeah, and a friend of mine suggested that just today. It was a great idea, so I'll definitely do that.
Yeah, I'm full of them.
Well, and maybe you guys could have a
Full of
table
ideas.
table at Bridge Street too, to
Yeah.
reciprocate. So we could be
Okay.
passing out information for you as well, just for the people that might not make both.
That'd be great, thanks.
Chris, you're always so diplomatic and democratic. I love it.
I try to network if I can.
And I was thinking, Catherine, as you were speaking about, different people that possibly could use their space as rehearsal or not. I know over the years, I don't get a ton of calls, but I do get calls from bands that would like to have a place that they can actually bake music and be noisy. It's hard, and maybe Chris, I don't have some connection more to that, but specifically, they'd have to have a contract and this, but a rehearsal space for like bands to practice together. I got a call from recently, they can't do it in his apartment anymore, this or that. And Main Street Arts is this kind of isolated building, and if they could come in Tuesday or Thursday nights, it might be a sort of a target kind of market besides the traditional ones we think about, the theater and the dance and stuff, but bands,
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to have that there. I think it's so important for the building to be alive in any way possible.
Yeah.
And I think, stuff can develop, relationships, projects, the more people are around it. Right now, the emptiness is like killing it as much as anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I might
But yeah,
add
please,
that we
please
are
send them
working.
our way, and I'll be, well, hopefully in the next month, I'll be putting more up on the website about how people can access it. We have to figure out things insurance wise,
Right.
what our liability is, but we're kind of, and I'm collecting sort of like work trade and use agreements from different places, but hopefully it'll come together in the next couple of months.
Mhm.
Regarding the
might
music, if
add-
there's, oh, sorry, Charles.
I might add that we're in the process of going through our sound system and light system, so we're gonna have it shovel ready within a month or so, I would say.
Great.
I was just gonna say, you definitely get in touch with Mark Peepcorn, because Stage 33 Live at 33 Bridge Street was really at the point where it was taking off pre-COVID. They're doing the best they can. A lot of shows were canceled. They're starting to get a few back, but it definitely has traction, and there might be groups that come up that play Stage 33 Live that might want to do a couple of nights. And
Yeah,
if you guys
that's-
have the space, you might be able to coordinate with Mark and offer a 2 nights for some people, and that might help you guys
Yeah,
expand. what
the
you're
start we're getting with the sound system is through Stage 33 Live, so we're totally in contact with Mark and the others.
Okay,
Thanks,
great.
Chris.
Great. I'm just gonna jump in. I see Zon. Zon, were you sort of stuck in the waiting room?
Yeah. Hi.
I
Right.
apologize for that. I don't know why. I'm not in control of the meeting that Fact TV is, so I'll have a conversation with Alex tomorrow, and Jeanette's suddenly here. And we're just about towards the end of our meeting, but if everyone can bear with us, Zon Eastis has joined us, and he's with the Vermont Creative Network, the project Amy was kind of covering. And if you want to just say hello, and Jeanette, I see you're there, and you needed to jump off. And I apologize that somehow you guys got stuck in the waiting room.
It's all right. Yeah, hi, everybody. My name is Zon Eastis. I live down in Guilford, Vermont, south of Brattleboro. And I'm currently acting in, I've stepped into Robert's impossibly immense shoes to serve as the zone agent for the Southern Vermont of the Vermont Creative Network. And so you may get newsletters from me now and then. I don't know if you're on our mailing list. I encourage you to join that. If you're not, you can find that by going to, you have to kind of go click through, but you can find it on the, oh, Amy's going to do something, it looks like. So anyway, you can look at the Southern Zone page of the Vermont Creative Network website, and there's a way to get onto the newsletter there if you're not already. And I'd love to just have folks reach out. I'll put my contact information directly in the box here, and or in the chat, and then folks can, if anybody wants to be in touch with me about anything, I'd sure like to meet folks. And just let you know what's going on. I don't have anything really to report, really, because I imagine that everything that the Southern Zone is thinking about right now is very, very right in line with what Amy has already taught. I imagine we're really focusing on ARPA funds, and we're really looking at advocacy for this $17.5 million ask. So I'm pretty sure that those topics have been out on the table already. But nice to see you all. Meet you. Hello, Martha. Haven't seen you for a while.
Great. And Zon's always, everyone's invited to these meetings, but Zon will be talking at the next Artist Town meeting. Maybe we'll have one before Open Studio if that seems appropriate for everyone, if there's any kind of things to cover. And Zon will always give us an update on the creative zone, and which connects us to Windham and Bennington counties, which is what it's kind of exciting about it. Expands our region and stuff too, and that's great. And then Jeanette, did you want to say a quick hello? We did kind of cover things, and I once again apologize if you were stuck in the waiting room.
Oh, yeah. Hi. Sorry I was so late. I had a lot going on today. So it's great to see so many people. Sounds like you covered everything. I got to run.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry.
On to the next artist town meeting. I know.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon.
No, thank
Bye.
you. Okay, bye-bye. Anyone else that didn't speak up have anything they want to throw out on the table or a suggestion for the next meeting? Yeah. Anything? No.
Do you have a date already scheduled for that?
No, we don't. We'll probably discuss after this whether we try to do something before the artist town, before the
Open studio.
open
week.
studio weekend, or if that's just a smaller group that keeps evolving, and we'll report maybe just after that, was before summer kicks off.
Okay, all right, just wanted to know. All right, no problem.
No, we'll keep you posted, Zon. Absolutely. No, that's great. So thank you all for coming and participating. And there'll be a link for this show that if you want to share it with people, and it will be on the Fact TV website. And we was streamed live, apparently, from what I understand. And thanks for everyone doing all this great work, and keep it up. And thank you, Amy and Martha, for jumping in. That's a great
Thanks for
thing
having
about
us.
Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great to see you all. It's an exciting time, Amy, what you shared about, the legislation, and it's good to see some new faces here. And, it's not an easy time to be creative, but, it's good to see all the people here and a lot of resources. So yeah, it's exciting. Thank you all.
Yeah,
Great.
thank you.
Great. So thank you all, in Fact TV again for hosting it. Okay, good
Right.
night.
Thank
Thanks,
you, Fact
Robert.
TV. Bye.
Take care, everybody.